So today we are in day 4 of Agile Scrum training, and yesterday and in the previous 3 days we have seen many things. Right from the Agile Manifesto to its 12 principles, and we have seen different roles and dev team member, uh, Scrum Master, and the product owner. And then we have seen how the product backlog refinement is going to happen. And today we will continue from there, from the product backlog refinement. So the main purpose of this is, as I mentioned yesterday, is to assign story points to every items so that team can work, and the product owner is going to facilitate this meeting. As I was mentioning, other meetings, Scrum Master can schedule and facilitate, but this is something which is core responsibility of a product owner only to groom the product backlog. That is the reason. So we'll invite every team member. We are going to use planning poker card. So today, maybe if we get time, we'll be seeing how the planning poker is done or how the story estimates are going to be done typically in a project. Okay, and then we'll be seeing if we have enough information on that particular stories or not. If it is not there, then product owner need to do further research or some more discovery things, so that no things should be crystal clear in terms of enough information which dev team would be needing for developing the software. And what are the ongoing activities, like the size is enough to able to plan the next sprint or not. All these things will be mentioned in the backlog. So as I was mentioning, suppose, so this product backlog grooming is a continuous process, and from the product backlog, what few product owner used to do, they will create some buckets. So say suppose if we are using a tool Jira, you can create a advanced sprint. Okay, so sprint 15 is going on, so you can create sprint 50, sprint 16 and sprint 17, and maybe sprint 18 also sometimes, but at least sprint 16 and sprint 17 is created. They won't start the sprint, which means on the board, on the backlog over the Jira itself, you can see the current sprint is sprint 15, but sprint 16 and 17 is there. So and how the things will do, if the team velocity say suppose 46, so product owner also would be knowing, in my sprint 16, if we are going to start say after 2 days, 3 days, or maybe 4 5 days, whenever we are going to start, do we have sufficient groomed stories, groomed items on the upcoming sprint backlog, so that we can start our sprint without any issue. So this grooming work we won't do in the sprint planning. The grooming work we'll do prior to this sprint planning, so that we are very sure, okay, no, this how many like on the priority of the stories, and breaking down stories into the epic, and then detailing of those epics or story. We will be seeing how those detailing is going to be done and all those things. But the most important thing is product owner will ensure that we are having enough things planned for next sprint or next to next sprint also sometimes. So what one example can he see, okay, this is one specific story, but we don't want this immediately. This is needed for one of the customer who is having time in their implementation, and the integration will happen after 3 weeks. So if we take in the next to next sprint also, that should be fine. So he may put it into that no sprint 17 bucket, something like that. So this is how, with the help of tools, you can manage or organize. Scrum won't say explicitly like, okay, you need to plan for the future sprint and all, but at least the next sprint we should plan. It should not be the case on Thursday. the sprint 15 is completing, and then entire team, including the PO and the Scrum Master, they are thinking, what is the next thing we are going to pull out from the product backlog? We don't know. So that situation won't be there. So we will do advanced planning. We do means the product owner will ensure, and he will be doing. Now, what is the importance of product backlog grooming? First and foremost thing is it will increase efficiency. Why? Because the process is such very smooth. And then if you are having product backlog refinement, you will be working only mainly on the MVP, most viable product initiative. You will be working on the prioritized items, and we will be very sure, okay, what needs to be done. So we will be focusing on the main thing. So obviously the efficiency is going to be increased. We need not to wait for many other calls, or else we'll be having several multiple follow-up calls, or discovery or grooming call. So if we do it regularly, then we are going to increase efficiency. Or how the efficiency can be hampered if product backlog grooming is not done properly, then uncooked stories, I can say, if that comes into the sprint, then the developer obviously is going to ask for clarification, and there will be lag of seeking for clarification, giving back the clarification. So we will save those uh, specific time. Second is it will reduce time for sprint planning. And I have seen sometimes what happened because of anything. Say suppose product owner goes on leave, or he haven't got time, and the stories which has to be taken into the next sprint is not decided. So uh, in those scenario, as a team, or maybe with very less bandwidth in the sprint planning itself, we need to groom the product backlog. So practice wise, that's not good. Third point is it's easy to estimate and do the planning. So when your backlog refinement is happened, and you are very sure that time, okay, is just a matter of doing a story pointing, and then we can estimate also how much time and energy and the effort can be taken for that. Knowledge sharing among the team members, this is also one of the key part. When we are having such discoveries, or the grooming sessions, that time the product owner will be clarifying the doubts of the team members. Along with that, if all the team members are sitting at one place, and if they want to share no their know-how for one specific stories or Jira, they can do it. So it will increase altogether the entire knowledge of the team. So, but sometimes this meetings will become very much time consuming. Time consuming in the sense discussions are happening, but we are not reaching to any conclusion, and no action items. So in order to make the meetings, this product backlog refinement meeting more effective, there are some things which we can consider is we should consider this as the first part of sprint planning, which means when I used to say, okay, we are having sprint planning meeting 1 and sprint planning meeting 2. So before sprint planning, if the product backlog refinement is ready, or if it happens, then we avoid no sprint planning time. Or sometimes I have seen the sprint planning meeting goes for not restricted to 60 minutes, but it goes on 90 minutes, 180, 120 minutes, and so on until 2.5 hours also for a bigger team. Then the backlog item list should be well understood by the product owner. That is the first thing, or development team, and that they can work well into the meeting. So one advice is, we know tomorrow product backlog grooming is going to happen, and we are very sure, okay, that the product backlog is prioritized, which means the top 7, 8 or top 10, 12 stories is what we are going to discuss. So if you want to become more efficient and effective, anyway, product owner has already created those stories. So he is having more uh, insight on those stories and items. But dev team member will go sometimes blank. They will just walk down and read stories first time or try to understand. No. So if we do this, it is going to take much time for clarifying doubts and understanding. First understanding, and the time you keeps on understanding, by the time the other team members will do the story pointing and they will move to another story. So best thing is, or at individual level, go to the product backlog, try to understand from your side itself, okay, what they are talking about. Why so? Because nobody is deciding which story which team member is going to pick. Correct? There is no preference as such. Only on few exceptional cases, okay, uh, you can shuffle the things and all. That too internally working with the team. But what is the process? If there are 15 or 20 stories in the product in the sprint backlog, then we will pick up the topmost. We'll pick up the first card, then pick up the second card, third card, fourth card. That's how we are working on the prioritized manner. So all the team members at least should be aware of what we are taking in this specific sprint. And obviously we know that, okay, they are not going to work on all the 15 stories or epic, whichever or defect is there, but they are going to work on 4 5 things based on the story points. But still we should be aware of that. And the product backlog refinement is not a job of one single person. It's along with product owner, we are as a team, we are facilitating the product owner to do that. Fine. So that is very important. And then we'll make sure that set of predefined acceptance tests are present. What are acceptance tests or acceptance criteria, that we'll be seeing in detail in the coming slides. But if any story is not having acceptance criteria or acceptance test, or the cases define whatever is expected, then we can ask a product owner to write that and mention that explicitly. Second, keep an eye on the meeting goal, which means don't deviate much from the agenda, whatever is there. Any other discussion is there, ballpark that for the offline discussion. Make sure to assign action item for any unknown thing. This is very much time consuming. So what happened? Okay, we don't know this, we don't know that. So we'll keep it like that. In the next meeting also we'll keep it like that. And when the time comes where that thing has to picked up or deliver, or the priority becomes more, that time everyone just bang on for clearing the impediments, for getting the more information. So that's not efficient way to do that. We know, okay, that is the unknown thing. So what is the next step? Who is going to own this? Let's assign then and there and move. Then do remember that backlog items are a collaboration between PO and the team. It's collaboration, which means we are collaborating with product owner as a team with the help of backlog items. Means you need to have something to talk to the PO. On which basis we are going to ask? We are going to ask on the basis of backlog items. If customer comes and directly talk to you, is it possible? Maybe in the startup it is possible, but on your behalf, who is going to talk to customer? Is the product owner. So that is how the thing happen. On your behalf, product owner will talk to customer, and on customer behalf, product owner will talk to you. So feel free to break the product backlog items during the meeting. That is very, very important. If you think anything which is not broken down further and no, we are doing story pointing. We'll come to that point, but you are giving some story point as 13. 13 story point, very huge effort it looks. Why we can't break it into 8 or 5, or why we cannot break it into 3 stories, maybe 2, 3 and 5, something like that. So we need to break down epics and stories into as much as granular part as possible. Okay, so moving forward, now coming to the sprint backlog. So product backlog is the one product backlog from the starting of the project till the end of the project, and sprint backlog will be different for different sprint. Okay, as I was saying, you will be having one sprint backlog for the current sprint, but few product owners will practice for next sprint. They can have some bucket sprint backlog for, say, suppose sprint 16. So when you are going to groom sprint backlog during each sprint planning session, the team returns back uh, to product backlog to pick recently prioritized user stories for the sprint, which means this point is very important. What is the meaning of this is, say suppose uh, we are not using Jira, we don't have any futures backlog also. We don't have any future sprint backlog. You just have one single product backlog and you just have one single sprint backlog. Okay. So in one single sprint backlog, you were having suppose 14 stories. Out of 14 stories, you as a team were able to deliver 10 stories. We worked on 4 more stories, but somehow those 4 stories either got cancelled, not accepted, rejected by the product owner. So when you close the sprint, at that time, if I talk about Jira, it will ask, okay, shall I put everything back to the product backlog? Or if the new sprint or the next sprint is created, it will ask, okay, can I spill it over to the next sprint? So ideally, when you close the sprint, if there is anything which is not completed, it will go back to the product backlog, and the product backlog itself is prioritized. But in this week, in this upcoming sprint, you may have number 1 and number 2 priority as some other story, not the thing which got no spilled over or not completed in the current sprint. So accordingly, this is going to happen where you will from the product backlog, you will pick the most recent prioritized user story for the next sprint. Now, sprint backlog is a subset of product backlog. Very important point to understand. Don't confuse that we have two separate things, which means we are having different requirement in product backlog and another requirement in sprint backlog. No, no. From product backlog, we will pick up few stories and few items and we will put it into the sprint backlog. Now in the sprint backlog, if those stories are closed, those stories still will be in the product backlog, but the status will be kind of closed or completed or deployed it in the production. So your product backlog will be having all the features. Some features, say suppose you are in mid of ongoing sprinting and you're in the sprint 11. So before sprint 11, in the sprint 10, whatever you have delivered, so those things will be as a completed in the product backlog and not in open items. So sprint backlog is an output of sprint planning meeting. Very important point once again. So like if we have to start another sprint, we'll be having sprint planning meeting 1 and sprint planning meeting 2, or pre-sprint planning and sprint planning, something like that. In the sprint planning, now what is happening actually? In the sprint planning, product owner along with team member deciding which all items we have to pick from the product backlog and put it into the sprint backlog so that we can work on those items in the next sprint. That's why We say it's the output of sprint planning meeting. And in sprint backlog, Scrum team works on how the user stories would be implemented in sprint by dividing it further into tasks and estimating it. Okay, so this part, the last point which I am telling is, this will usually go in sprint planning meeting too. So if I break down sprint planning into two parts or the two half, so first part will be focusing on what are the items we are pulling from a product backlog to sprint backlog. Now sprint planning meeting two, or the second part, it will be more on the detailing of all the user stories, breaking it down into further tasks so that we can do better story pointing, we can do better estimate. Suppose you are having epic, it's very difficult to um, estimate on at epic level. You have vague or rough estimate. So I was having my own organization. I was working there as a director and the CTO. And then I had to meet to one customer. I went for a meeting, and to that customer, uh, when I had meeting in his boardroom, and he has given requirement this and that. And then he said, okay, you are going to have 3 months. And in this 3 months, are you going to deliver me the project? So what is the obvious answer we are going to say as a project manager, or something like that? We'll say, yes, we are going to deliver some, which means we are not committing that what all we are going to deliver. Are we going to deliver full thing in Big Bang? No. Rather, what we are saying is, if you want to see some delivery within 1 month or within 15 days, we can do that. And that is possible if you are breaking down epics into the stories, and further you are breaking down stories into the task. So usually in a sprint backlog, you will be having stories. Rarely you will be having epic. Or if you will be having epic will be again a smaller epics. And but majority of time you will be seeing, you will be having a stories or defect regression bugs or something like that. And the task will be subset of those stories. So you are having one story and you are doing a story pointing, it's difficult to do the estimation. But if your story is broken down into 7 subtasks, 7 tasks which needs to be completed, you will be having a clear visibility. Okay, this task is going to take this much time, this much effort, this much energy, this is some unknown and known things, so we can do the story pointing. So that is how we'll do. Please pause me if you are having any doubt. Okay, we'll move to the next thing, that is a burn down chart. When we say chart, yeah, it's a chart. And what we are burning? We are burning stories. We are burning story points. So a burn down chart is going to show you how much actual amount of work you have completed for that epic or a sprint or a stories, and how much total work is remaining. So it will be in a graph. So from here to here, so here at the top you are having this much things to complete, and on one day when all the entire day is completed, all the developers are going to log their hours, or log either they will log the hours, and again it's not on the basis of hours. Some people will see on the basis of hours when you have a man-day kind of estimate, but here in the sprinting it's not hours. So what we'll do, okay, if these two stories are completed, so their weight, the 2 and 3 and 5, so 10 story points get completed, and the targeted story point was 45. So you will see that graph coming down. I will be showing you in the next slide how that graph will be. So ultimately from the burn down chart, you are going to know exactly how much work is completed and how much is pending. So it is giving you clear visibility. Second, This chart is going to use to predict the team likelihood for completing their work in the available time. But we have seen the steep curve coming. Okay, your burn down chart will grow like that, and all of a sudden in the last 2 days it will come down. So why that happen? All these things we will be seeing further, or in the time permits, I will discuss. But they are also great for keeping the team aware of any scope creep that occurs. If there is any scope creep, scope change, or change things when it happens, from that graph you can see, okay, as it is not moving good. Let me quickly show you this figure, then I will go back. So this is how you can see the x-axis and y-axis. So in the y-axis, you can see story points. Okay, it is not number of hours. Again, let me clarify. This is not number of hours. This is story point. So in one specific sprint, uh, the team velocity is, say, suppose 80. So they have taken 80 story point. And within the 80 story point, you can see October 3, October 4, October 5. So it is a sprint of 2 weeks. So sprint length is 2 weeks. So October 3, nothing happened. And October 4, you are seeing, okay, there are few stories which got completed, and the team members might have logged, they have updated the status over Jira or the tool which we are using. And once that story moved to ready for accept stage, or for the acceptance to the product owner, and it's been completed. That's why, okay, at this particular point, or at this particular point, I don't know whether you might not be seeing my cursor. So I am pointing to step number 1, 2, 3 from the top. So it is lying in between 50 and 60. So which means 25 story got completed in the initial 4 days. And still we are having 55 stories which needs to be completed. So this is how your burn down chart looks. And and you can see in the right hand side there is one more chart. What that chart is showing is that we have taken 80 story points to be completed, but instead of completing those things on 16th, we are completing that on what is that, 11th of October, which means we have done wrong estimation. Our team had more capacity, or more resources got joined, more team members joined, or the story pointing whatever we did was not correct, not accurate, and that is the reason before that only we were able to complete. And the third graph which you can see in the right bottom, where the team is not making any progress, there are many unknowns, there is scope creep which is happening, the graph is kind of horizontal, and your sprint is about to end on 15th October. Somewhere around 40 stories got completed, so still 40 stories are remaining that will go either to the product backlog or spill over to the next sprint. So this burn down chart will give us those visibilities. Again, coming back to the points, I show you that graph so that you can imagine on in your brain how that is looking. So burn down charts are useful because they provide insight into how team works. For example, if you notice that team consistently finishes work early, as I was saying, this is a sign that they aren't committing enough to the work during sprint planning. Okay, might be their velocity is 60, but they just committed for 45 story points. So 45 story points will be completing early before 3-4 days. And if consistently they are missing their forecast, there may be sign that they are committing too much. They know their capacity is 60, and they have taken 100 story points. Now what is going to happen? If 100 story points are taken, obviously that is going to spill over. And one more example can be, if your burn down chart shows a sharp drop during the sprint. So this might be a sign that work has not been estimated accurately, or broken down properly. So if there is any disturbance, ideally it should be a straight line from there to there, okay, from top to bottom. But you will see practically that won't happen, and that is how you will gauge with the burn down chart. So this is one of the metrics. We are not doing the entire project tracking, but yes, with the help of burn down chart, you will get a much clearer picture how your sprint is moving. Now, let's talk about user stories. So epic is something which is which product owner will create, and then epics can be broken down into story. Epic can be a huge functionality or feature, major feature, and you are going to break down that epic into story. So the stories are short, simple description of feature, told from perspective of person who desire the new capability, usually a user or customer of the system, which means when we talk about user or customer perspective, they are not technical person, which means you are not going to get a story like, okay, go update that database, put it into this table, take out from there, write this code, that code. No, no, those technical detailing is not there. If it comes to the developer, then developer can obviously create a subtask and can do the technical detailing on those things. But one example can, as a admin or as a this type of user, I want to do this so that this can happen. So you can see the format as a, and then in the Angular basis, as an admin or as a manager, as a accountant, I want to give the hike to employees so that it can be reflected in their salary pay. That is the simple story. As an accountant, I want to give hike to employees so that it can be reflected to the salary pay. So this is an example of user story, and it will be in plain English, very short but simple descriptive. And who is telling that? Which means product owner is sitting with the customer, and whatever customer is saying in his word, he will filter, make it more simpler, and put it on in the words. So story is in a form of plain English. Now let's move. How we will do? We will consider 3C. First is card, conversation, and confirmation. Traditionally written on notes card, may also annotate with the estimate notes. So you will be seeing stickies. So when the stories are there, and when the developer in some organization, you will be seeing uh, they are co-located, and then they are having a board, whiteboard, or they are having a wall. On the wall itself, they will write a stickies, and literally they will put their stickies there. You will be having a different swim lanes there. Okay, to this is open. So at the starting of the sprint, uh, if you are using tool like Jira or something, that's different. But apart from that also, within that board where the 5-6 team members are sitting, all the stickies, all those notes will be stick on the first column on the day one at the time of sprint planning. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's on up to 15 stickies are or notes are there. Now one developer come and pick it and put it into in progress or ready for development or something like that. And likewise, that will move to the last column where it is for review and all. So this is how the things happen. Second thing is conversation. So details goes comes out during the discussion with the product owner. When you will be discussing with the product owner, that time more detailing will come, because when the stories is written, it is in the simple thing, but you may have some other conditions or something which is violating this scenario and the previous scenario. So we'll be having a conversation, and the confirmation is acceptance test or the acceptance criteria which we were saying. So that will confirm a story is coded perfectly or not. So we'll be seeing in detail if story is having acceptance criteria, here we say it as acceptance test, then that story is very good. So we'll keep in mind this card conversation and confirmation in terms of user stories. And few of the example is, as a user, I want to reserve a hotel room. Very simple. As a I want and reason. So as a user, I want to reserve a hotel room. It's very simple. But when it comes to breaking it down, what are the things, what design, this and that is all left with the Scrum team, development team, a technical thing. As a vacation traveler, I want to see photos of the hotels. Okay, this is a hotel management system where for a traveler, we are saying as a vacation traveler, I want to see the photos of hotel. Now, when it comes to functionality, okay, what is the pixel size, what size, this size, that size, resolution, how many, and all this things comes in detailing. But at story level, this is very simple. As a user, I want to cancel a reservation. This is one simple user story. As a frequent flyer, I want to rebook a past trip so that I save time booking trips I take often. I. You are seeing this? So from a customer perspective, from an end customer perspective, client perspective, we are reading story, and that's how story is been written. Which means product as a representative of a customer, he's saying what he has just written down whatever customer is saying directly to him. And then as a developer, you are reading those stories which has to be developed. Again, where are the details? Fine. So here you are saying, hey, I have to cancel the trip, or I have to book the trip, I have to reserve the hotel, but where is detailing? So as a user, I can cancel a reservation. So detailing comes when we break it down. You want to cancel. That is a story. But the sub task or more detailing can come. So when the team member is going to ask to the product owner or over a story when it is written explicitly, does the user gets a full or partial refund? Okay, cancel is going to happen. But this specific business rule, is the refund going to credit in his credit card, debit card, or the wallet of that particular site, or the site's credit anywhere? So that can be another thing. Likewise, you as a team member, we can have several queries, and then the more detailing can be done. So as a user, I can cancel a reservation. This cancellation feature can be big epic, and then you may have this 3 bullet points which you are seeing. Does the user get a full or partial refund? So full and partial refund can be one story, and then you can have a task. How far ahead must the reservation be cancelled? So that is another question. Is that the same for all hotels? Which means there is a site trivago.com, the advertisement which you are seeing, and on that you are cancelling. Now, is the charges different for different hotels, or you are having a standard rate? Say suppose the cancellation charge is 20%. And then you might have seen if you do cancellation before 2 weeks or so, the cancellation charges are less. If you cancel before a week or before 1 day, 2 days, or immediately or on that day, the cancellation charges keeps on increasing. So for all site visitor, can frequent travelers cancel later? So there are few people who will travel very rarely, but frequent travelers are there, which means their plan can change. So he is my loyal customer. He is using my um services. So can we give some privilege to a frequent traveler so that they can cancel later, or we can give some benefits in terms of price discount and all? Is a confirmation provided to the user? Okay, or it's just cancel, or if the confirmation is going to provided, how, whether you are going to show directly over the screen or you're going to send SMS, email, what can be those mode. So got it? You will be having a stories, and then the detailing deep dive into the things is going to happen. So another example can be when your condition is satisfied or not. If we want to see that, so the story was, as a user I can cancel a reservation. Now the product owner condition of satisfaction can be added to this story, and essentially those are steps or the acceptance criteria. So for that specific story, the 4 bullet points which you can see is: verify that a premium member can cancel the same day without a fee. Okay, so which means we are giving some specialization. Verify that a non-premium member is charged 10% for a same day cancellation. Okay, verify that an email confirmation is sent. Verify that the hotel is notified of any cancellation. When we say verify, which means he is talking about acceptance test. When I can accept this user story, when you will be giving a sprint demo or a sprint review or a demo of your particular story, that time all these check boxes are check or not from a feature perspective. If from a feature perspective all those things are checked, then the product owner can say, okay, go, done. When he says done, then it is accepted and it will contribute to the sprint completion or not. Second thing is, you can also break down stories into the sub stories or the subtasks, which I was saying. So for the same story, as a user, I can cancel reservation. You can say, as a premium site member, I can cancel reservation up to last minute. Okay, so we will be having some different functionality for doing this particular accommodation. As a non-premium member, I can cancel up to 24 hours in advance. Second, as a site visitor, I am emailed a confirmation if it has been cancelled. So I have not created my account there. You can see there are a few users who won't create account. They will just visit a site. You will be having a payment page and their email ID is there and you will just do the payment. So you are not a member also. You have not taken any subscription also, but still you wanted to use that. So for that, what can be the process or the things? So this is how we will break down stories into sub stories. Now, again, if I go deeper to the smaller user stories, breaking large, and when we say how we are going to break this, say suppose we are doing a backlog grooming or a planning poker, and every team member is saying the 13 or 21 should be the story point of that particular story. So the product owner and the scrum master also can come in between and they can say, or as a dev team, you can say to the product owner, the estimate is very high. Why can't we break it down into further some of the sub stories? So you will break it down into the smaller stories. Instead of having 21 story point of one single story, you may have 3 or 4 smaller stories, and that sum up to 21, 22, 24, whatever. Okay, so breaking large story down into a smaller stories help with value optimization. It enables a PO to prioritize the most valuable part and deprioritize or discard the rest. Say suppose when we say I want to do cancellation. So for cancellation, if all the feature has to be included, it's big story, big bang. But for cancellation, only our focus is for the premium customers. We don't bother about the site visitor at this moment, or we don't bother even about a customer who are not premium, who has not paid the amount. So in the first go, in my first sprint or in my second sprint, the feature should go where I can see, okay, the cancellation feature for that. So out of those many stories, we can prioritize that particular story as a product owner who we think is more important and is on our priority list. Smaller stories can be delivered quicker, which means the end user of the system is able to reap the benefit sooner. Again, as we were saying here, our objective is working software, shippable code, okay, shippable deliverables. That is our objective. If is it possible? Okay, I'm asking you a question like that. We know there are different phases of software development life cycle. Can we do requirement gathering in sprint 1 and analysis in sprint 2, coding in sprint 3, testing in sprint 4 and deployment in sprint 5? Can we do like that? What do you suggest? What do you think? Yes, we can do that, but don't call that as a sprint. Don't call that as a scrum. That will be waterfall only if you do like that. Or can we do something like that? We will club 3 phases in sprint 1 and we club another 3 phases like requirement gathering, analysis, designing into the sprint 1 and then coding, testing, deployment into the sprint 2. Can we do that? Again, answer is no, we should not do that. Okay, one interesting question I will ask, and I anticipate some feedback from or answer from you. Can we do development in one sprint and testing into another sprint? Can we do?
I think ideally not, but I think it is possible.
Yes, so it is possible, but we won't say that as a sprint. So in my previous organization, when I went there, we did acquisition of the smaller company. So uh, there the trend was the sprint 14 was going for dev and sprint 13 was going for QA. So means whatever dev team is delivering in 14, the QA was lagging one sprint behind. So that was not the way to do that. Okay, can we do everything, testing and coding into the sprint 1, but regression, automation, CI/CD deployment into the sprint 2? Can we do
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I think testing should be like, since we're delivering new functionality each sprint, yeah, I think regression is important to keep doing it each and every sprint.
Yes, correct. So earlier when you go for a big bang, you will just do regression once. Maybe for regression only you'll spend 2-3 weeks and do regression. That's fine because you are having a code which you are not changing. But here you can see the moment you say product owner that okay, I am done, I am completed. So the next thing product owner will ask you, can we make it live? Then you say, no, the automations test cases has to be updated and then I need to run those cases. The CI/CD is not implemented. It's not like that. So when PO says okay, done, which means everything is completed for that story, including CI/CD automation, all regression, everything. Fine. So and very frequently we are doing changes. That's why test automation and other things are very crucial when it comes to the agile. We see that TDD, test driven development, and behavior driven development things also have time permits. But when you have a smaller stories, then very frequently you can the product owner and the end customer can see what is happening. So the smaller stories allow for more frequent feedbacks, which means that the cost of learning is lower and we spend less time building the wrong thing. Okay, it's the same cycle. If after 1 month we are delivering and something we were doing wrong in the second or third week, cannot correct. We need to wait for a month. But say suppose on the day 3 we are doing something and we are frequently releasing in every week, our sprint is ending, so frequent feedback we are getting and we can adapt to ourselves. It seems we are having last 5 minutes, so I will just conclude this slide and then we'll open for Q&A. The smaller stories often require less cognitive load to turn into valuable output. Cognitive load means the thinking, analyzing this and that, doing all this planning, designing, which means that they're inherently easier to work on and they're less waste with thorough analysis and oversighting. Okay, seeing okay how many things are going to be impacted, impact analysis. Okay, I am putting very big UI items, so it obviously the other UI items has to be adjust. But if it is just very simple thing, it can be adjusted very easily. So the smaller stories is going to often reduce your cognitive load. And the last point is smaller stories supports with planning as they are generally better understood by the team and therefore can be estimated with greater confidence. Correct or not? If I say I just want to cancel reservation, we don't know, we can give any story point. Some developer who assume okay it is very simple, he can say a 5-story point. Someone who thinks of all the cases, he will say okay it can be 21 story point. But we break it down into the things. Okay, we know okay this is going to take that much time, energy, effort, known unknowns. Okay, then 2-story point, then 3-story point, 3-story point, 5-story point, something like that. So always best practices, if as a developer you get any story which is big and further it can be broken it down, go back to PO and say okay can we just break down this story. As a PO, if you feel okay I have written but the team estimate is more, which means further can I break it down. So always objective is to have smaller chunks of code, smaller things to be deliver shippable. If you are from a coding perspective also, if you are pushing no say suppose 70-80 files all at once including many kilobytes of code, the impact will be more on the entire application. If something is going to disturb, it may break the existing functionality. But a smaller code chunk when it is going and you have the automation test cases and everything written, you can have seamless integration, deployment, and all those things. Okay, so I will stop here for any queries which you are having. It seems we already completed 4 days, but I think it seems we may not able to complete everything in 5 days and we may need additional 1 or 2 days. So maybe I will plan accordingly and see if we need to have a 6th or 7th day. And in case if that happens, then we will postpone our load performance testing training on JMeter and BlazeMeter to some more days. I don't want to go on fast because this is the concept which we are building, and this will be beneficial not only for you but for all the new comers, all the new team members who is not aware of Agile Scrum framework, and instead of getting training outside the organization, they can just watch the videos which we are recording and get benefited and come to the speed to and familiarize with the concept of Scrum, because soon we are going to implement, we are going to shift from Kanban to Scrum mode. Okay, I will pause here. Any queries, team?
Not for the moment, Sagar.
Okay, thank you. Then have a good day.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you, Sagar, today.
Sure. Bye.